Okay.
All right, my friends, welcome to episode 271 of Prof and Dev Play Games. My name is Larry, the professor at Prof Plays Games on Twitter. Over there is Anthony, the dev at Summer Speak. How's it going?
Going okay.
Yeah, Cyberpunk
And,
weekend.
yeah, Cyberpunk week.
That's
Um,
true.
I think. When did it come out?
Was it
Thursday?
the 10th?
Well, I guess I
Yeah.
started playing it on Wednesday because it unlocked I got on PC, so 4 p.m. on Wednesday,
And
I
were you
believe.
playing at 4 p.m.?
What was that?
Were you playing at 4 p.m.?
I had it installed. Yeah, I played a bit when work ended
Hmm.
for like an hour, just kind of just messing with it. Most of that time was probably spent with graphic settings, um, toggling ray tracing on and off, if that's better, and all the different options. So,
What'd you eventually
and that
land
still
on?
continues to this day.
What'd you land on for what looked better for you?
I'm ray tracing,
Mm-hmm.
using ray trace, a medium ray trace, not ray traced reflections, with DLSS on
Mm.
in quality mode, and I can hit anywhere between 50 to 60 FPS. I think I actually have it limited to 60. I don't let it go higher
Right.
because I only have 60 hertz. So I don't care if it goes higher, but it will dip down to like 50 in super heavily populated scenes. Um, if I turned ray tracing off, I could go higher, but I like how the game looks with ray tracing, so I'm keeping it on.
Yeah, apparently it's visually very stunning, that game.
It is stunning. The game is I will use the term breathtaking at times. And especially if you can turn up like ray tracing and things like that, it just makes the lighting so much more real.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just feels like an actual environment and scene. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
It definitely feels like one of the advantages of next gen, even though your computer, I mean, obviously you already had this before this current gen of consoles, but like the ray tracing, I finally started to see it on console now, and it transforms the scene. It really
Yeah,
does look so
it
real.
it makes things just look fuller overall. Like really adds depth to the image in ways you just I think people just hadn't realized,
Mm-hmm.
but super super taxing. Like holy crap. Which I knew from a computer science background. Ray tracing is always that like mythical thing. Um, that the fact that we even have consumer grade graphics cards that can do it is pretty amazing to me.
Right.
Because this was stuff that you would have server rooms running lighting passes on. Like this is like when it took minutes, if not hours, to render a frame of a pre-rendered movie doing ray tracing calculations. That's why they look so good. But um, the fact that we have cards in our PCs and the now, I guess they're the current gen consoles now. I don't know. I
Right.
always hate this time.
Exactly.
The PS5 and the Series X can do it. Is pretty incredible.
Yeah, to have that in a $500 box, right?
Yeah.
Like I've got a
So
$1,300 laptop that looks pretty good,
yeah,
but sometimes I think my PS5 looks better. So,
yeah. I would definitely say we're still probably 2 to 3 generations out graphics card wise of like full realization of ray tracing in the
mm-hmm.
consumer. Like you have to make some compromises to make it work on even this Cyberpunk shows even on like the 3000 series graphics cards.
Right.
They're still challenging those cards pretty heavily, and it will continue to be that way. there's not easier ways to do it other than just adding just more horsepower to the graphics card. NVIDIA has some tech, like their DLSS
Right.
is a huge thing for them, because they can do the scene at a lower resolution, which makes it faster to ray trace and then machine algorithm it into native resolution.
Right.
And it's huge performance gains. So it's a one way to go around it. It feels like a very to get from point A to point B, we went to C first,
Yeah.
kind of thing. But it works.
Right, because it's using AI, right? Like machine learning, right,
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Seems
To
like
upscale the image.
a super complex solution to a less complex problem, even though it's still complex.
Yeah, I mean, that actually probably shows you how much ray tracing costs.
Mm-hmm.
That it's easier to do that AI upscaling than it is to just ray trace
Right.
more.
Yeah, it looks good. You saw that Miles Morales and Spider-Man put in a middle option where it's 60 FPS with lower ray tracing.
Oh, they did? Now that's cool.
Yeah, they did it with Miles Morales first earlier in the week, and then they launched it for Spider-Man yesterday, I think. So you can do
That's
60
cool.
FPS and do like medium amount of ray tracing. And I haven't turned it on yet to see, but apparently from the perspectives I'm reading and hearing, it fucking looks great.
I'm sure it does. I'm curious if it's similar to Cyberpunk, like the one, even their medium ray trace settings keeps ray traced reflections off.
Hmm.
So ray traced lighting, illumination, and one other thing, but they do not do ray traced reflections, which is a killer in performance.
Yeah.
So I wonder if Miles Morales just kind of turns some of the, like, hey, we won't do the reflections as well. We won't use ray trace on the reflections. We'll just do screen space reflection stuff.
Right.
But I can only imagine how good that looks.
Well,
Oh my god.
it's going to
I
set
gotta
the
play
bar,
it.
right? Where you've got those three options, and it's obviously consoles. I think console players kind of like plug and play, just like give me the one setting, let me go. But to have kind of three distinct tiers, and when those two tiers were in the base game, like I would flip between both, and they were both amazing. I just kind of wished I had the middle grade, and
Yeah.
there it is for my platinum run. So that's
Yeah.
great.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, got to figure out when to fit that game into my list of games because it's not getting smaller.
No, dude, this
Good or bad? I'm not sure anymore. But I'm basically like, I have January, and then February and March are taken.
Yeah.
Got Strikers and then Monster Hunter Rise.
Right.
And I'm screwed after Monster Hunter Rise for a while.
You'll be stuck for a while there.
Yeah.
Well, this is going to be our Cyberpunk episode overall. So we're, weekend after Cyberpunk came out, kind of talk about the reviews, impressions, your experience. Partially because I'm so on the fence about playing this game or not soon, like playing it at the end of the month or whatever, as opposed to waiting several months. So I've read a lot of reviews, and we've all seen kind of the ups and downs with the reviews, and some people love it and think it's amazing, and some people not so much, and there's tons of bugs no matter what. Kind of want to get your hands-on impression of the game.
Yeah. So I don't think the reviews were wrong pretty much in any way. I mean, there's a pretty big range of them in some ways. I guess the range, it's what probably the lowest is of the major places was like a 7 out of 10 up till some were giving it 9 out of 10s. So
yeah, the
it's obviously
game's
not that
beat
big of a range.
was 3 out of 5, so it ended up being a 6. That's the lowest one that
6.
I saw. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That seems to me it feels like how well can you get past the rough edges or not, because
Mm-hmm.
they are there.
Yeah.
This is definitely a game. My experience. I'm looking right now. I've put 29 hours and 13 minutes into this game. I have sacrificed sleep for this game. I've been up till 1:30, 2 o'clock at night since this game came out.
Oh dang! So you're in it. You're enjoying it that much.
I am. So for my thing, I am enjoying this quite a bit. Like, hands down, really enjoying the side missions, doing some of the main story. That isn't to say it has some really, really rough edges. Holy crap. I think the game probably needed one more year of development.
Oh wow, that
Like,
long.
the game they have now is a game that, to be as polished as I would want this game to be, and kind of I think what people are expecting, it probably needs another year.
Mm-hmm.
Because the whole game is there right now. Like, the whole thing. All the systems basically work. There's just a lot of these small systems and side things, and especially actually the UI, where there's just, I'm like, this is the last part of development where you just spend a bunch of time improving quality of life, fixing these minor bugs. Because most of the bugs I come across truly are just minor things. A graphical thing here, a graphic, like, I have had like a cigarette butt floating in the air, or a gun floating in the air. Just, I kind of feel like normal open worldy type things that happen.
Mm-hmm.
But that stuff usually gets taken care of probably in the last year, where they're just focused on fixing bugs, improving the quality of the play experience. But that's where we're at. They released it this year. Who knows why? Pressure, probably, by their public company, so they have investors.
Right.
I know from money themselves, CD Projekt is not hurting. They could have probably developed it another year without honestly hurting themselves. Witcher sales keep them more than enough afloat. But
Well, and they released a report today or yesterday that said that they've made back all of their money already.
yeah. So this is the thing. I'm like, they could have. I know that there was a bunch of investors and their board like really just wanting the game to come out. They can't delay it. So this is what we get. So even with the rough edges, I'm still having a blast. The city is incredible to just wander around in. I will not say like that it's. I think I've heard people talking like it's not a simulation. I'm like, no, the city is not a simulation. If you look closely, you'll be like, okay, what's going on? Just as most open world games aren't pure simulation. Like, I'm coming directly, mostly from Valhalla to this,
Mm-hmm.
and I will say I'm having a much better time playing this than Valhalla. But it's not like I'm playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla and it's the world that I'm playing is a simulation at all.
Right.
Like, people just sit there. They don't move anywhere, go around. Like, they might be on patrol paths, but you can't follow just an NPC and make really like think of a story that they're actually going to play.
Right.
Or not like
what they're living, right? Their life.
What they're living, because
right.
They're not living. They're not even programmed to have any wants and needs or anything. And so that's the same here. There's not a whole lot of following a random pedestrian around and seeing anything special. They'll just walk down the street. But beyond that, like, the actual visuals of the city, the verticality of it all is pretty incredible. Like, the exploration of the city is, I'm just having a ton of fun with. And I feel like even with just under 30 hours, I've just scratched the surface of this city.
Oh, that's nice to hear.
Like, there are huge segments. I've been in like one district with little offshoots to other districts, but I haven't done much of anything outside of like the starting district.
For 30 hours. That's cool.
For 30 hours. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing where people talk about like, oh, the game's short. I'm like, I think you can finish the story very quickly if you want to.
Yeah, I heard like 20 hours.
They don't gate the story behind a bunch of side stuff. It's like, no, if you just want to push the main story, go. You can get through that pretty quickly. But I also don't really want to, because the other thing this game has that is CD Projekt strength is the side characters are amazing. I want to spend so much time with these side characters, and I will do every quest that they give me so I can continue the chains and be around them.
Does that include Jackie, the one you're with at first?
Yeah, Jackie was cool.
All right.
And how much of the trailers and stuff have you watched over the years?
Barely any. Like some clips of Johnny Silverhand.
There's the pre-rendered trailer, CG trailer that was done when they first shut off Keanu Reeves.
Mm-hmm.
It was like whenever he did wake the fuck up, samurai
Mm-hmm.
line. That trailer, and I think I texted you, actually ruins. Doesn't ruin, but it tells you the whole end of the prologue.
Yeah, I don't remember any of it.
Like I'm hitting that whole thing, and I'm like, oh, like not though. I'm going into it, and then I realize as things are going that that prologue, like the prologue, ends with the non-pre-rendered play of that pre-rendered CGI.
Right.
So a lot of the big story beats I knew were about to happen and how they were going to happen. And so it kind of undermined some of the emotional impact at that point.
Yeah. But hopefully
So,
at the end of the prologue, there are hopefully many more emotional beats ahead.
yes. There was only one other story quest that they had shown. God, I don't even know when they had shown it. Sometime in the past couple of years, they had shown one other story quest, and I went through it, but they didn't show the entire thing. They cut off before like what I would call the major beats of that story mission. But yeah, I've progressed. I don't know how far through the story I am, honestly.
How is it? You're talking about the story, the side characters being really compelling. Is the storytelling in this game, because that's the thing that I'm most interested in terms of like whether I'm going to play it. How do you feel about it?
I think it's well done. It's CD Projekt Red doing well. I have a hard time separating because I'm like already invested because I know these characters
Mm-hmm.
completely. I'm like, I don't know how someone who has zero knowledge of the lore of this world, how they'll respond to this.
Okay.
Because Johnny Silverhand is not the only lore character in the game.
Mm-hmm.
This is a direct continuation of storylines that are in that happened in the first edition of Cyberpunk 2020, and then the last of its source books of 2020. Like this isn't like some offshoot storyline. It is the direct continuation of those storylines.
So for someone to get more out of the story, should they go and read what happened in that tabletop game?
Yeah, I mean the game kind of retcons a couple things from the stories, but which is expected because the actual like written stories are a little vague in a couple areas to keep it people asking questions, and this answers those questions and poses more. But yeah, for me, there's about 2 weeks ago, the latest edition of the Cyberpunk role-playing game came out, Cyberpunk Red.
Right.
And it has 3 major short stories in it that all basically tell the backstory to 2077. But you don't have to, because in the way that 2077 is giving you the story, it's not a lot of telling, it's a lot of showing for those past stories as well. So you'll get the information. It's just, I don't think someone who doesn't know the lore is going to pick up on like all these other things that I'm seeing and being like, oh, that person, they mentioned that. Oh, that had the text on that. You can see this text of this program. Oh, that's really important.
So it's making it richer for you.
It making an incredibly richer experience for me in that regard. A friend of mine, Carl, who's been playing, he's been playing a lot, even quite a bit more than me. And he doesn't know a bunch of the lore. He's really enjoying it quite a bit. I think that's the other thing. The main story introduces you to the side characters, and that there's something very compelling in that you'd usually do a main mission where you get introduced to a side character, and the fact that I want to continue doing missions with that side character is a good sign.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm like, oh, they called me. I want to go immediately drop what I'm doing and go talk to them again because they were cool.
That's nice to hear, because obviously this is not The Witcher, but being the next game from that dev team, a lot of the side content and side characters were some of the most compelling parts of The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
So it sounds like at least in some way that's continuing.
Yeah. I will be curious if any of this side stuff will eventually tie back towards at least flavoring the main story.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't played any side characters through their like full arc, so I have no clue yet. All I know is online people have said, like there are a couple reviews that mention that, like, yeah, playing side characters, like finishing side character story arcs will have additions to the ending. I don't know what it is, but I know that there's a secret ending as well. So people have mentioned that, and maybe that's tied to some of these side arcs that you have to do. Maybe it gives other options for what can happen.
Yeah, this is kind of touching on the conversation we had over text, where I had seen the trophy list for PS5, and it had listed the X amount of endings, and it said no matter what you do, whatever choices you make, you get these 4 endings by the choice at the end. You just make a choice. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other things that are not tied to trophies. This was simply about this is how you get those ending
getting
trophies.
That trophy.
Yeah, so very well possibly could be.
There could be something. Like, I don't know what the secret, like people are talking about the secret ending. No one spoiled it for me, but there's like, there is a secret ending. I'm like, what is that? I would like to know how to get it. So yeah, storytelling wise, I think it's well done. The dialogue's well. I don't want to skip any character dialogue. I just like listening to the characters and like what they're talking about. It's not nearly as over the top as I was worried it could be. I would say the world is a bit over the top at times with the ads and everything.
Oh
but
my god, like fuck yourself to
the
death
actual
or whatever ad there was.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. The amount of gratuitous like sexual imagery thrown around is pretty high.
Yeah.
I will say that.
You're not playing this in front of your kids.
Oh hell no! Like they're like, "Can we watch?" And I'm like, "Nope, nope, oh no."
I don't want to explain what a dildo is. No thanks.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I listened to Kind of Funny Thing, and I've been on the lookout for dildos showing up for like random loot, because there is just random junk you can loot off people in the world.
Right.
Like, I have not gotten one.
Oh,
so
wow. Okay.
they clearly are not as common anymore. Maybe I want to believe maybe that was something that came out of the day one patch, because there was a pretty big day one patch, like 600 megs about. Maybe they tweaked the random tables on what it was giving.
Right.
What
Yeah, because
random junk was showing up.
Giant Beastcast also mentioned it quite a bit. So maybe it wasn't just Kind of Funny
And
guys.
I sell a bunch of my junk, and when you sell the junk, the vendor switches to the screen that shows you everything you've sold, and I haven't seen a dildo show up in there. So I have been in a sex shop that has a bunch of dildos though.
Right.
And other assorted things, so that's great.
Next to Four Seasons Total Landscaping.
Yeah. But that's
Jesus.
So the world's still over the top a bit.
Yeah.
But it feels like it to me. I'm like, yeah, I get they are making a point of the absurdity of using sex to sell things. Like it is pushed to an absurd level, and to me it comes off as parody and absurdity. But I could see how other people would not take it that way. It would be like, what the hell is this? But I guess modern day already has it sometimes at an absurd level anyway.
Yeah.
So, but the characters themselves, especially most of the all the main characters and these side characters that I've spent time with, they aren't nearly as over the top. They swear a bunch, but that's fine. It fits into the punk mindset there, but surprisingly hopeful game though as well.
In terms of kind of like humans against corporations, or like in what way?
Kind of, yeah. Like trying to make the world a better place. Fuck these corporations. They're ruining everything. We need to stop them.
Yeah. That sounds hopeful.
Like rise up against power. Like abusive power. Rise up against it.
Right.
Which is a common theme of Cyberpunk, and they capture that, and they capture it really well. And I mean, Johnny Silverhand is a very big part of that.
Right.
So.
Do you think, you know what I like, so do you think that this is a game that I'm going to get into?
I would normally say that I could see you getting through it, but I could also see you getting really frustrated with some of the UI right now. Just being confused.
I heard that
Being
the
like, what the fuck
perks
is
are
going
like
on?
the perk system is like opaque. Is that true?
Uh, a bit. I think I understand it now.
Mm-hmm.
Opaque is at the beginning. You're like, how am I getting perk points? And then there's just a number of little systems working on top of each other, and they don't explain them to you. You just start getting perk points, and you start getting skill points. And just kind of starts happening. At this point, I understand how I'm getting them. And then you start. I don't know. It just takes time to learn the system. There is a way to respec in game. It just costs a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably do that because I wasted points here and there while I was messing around. But I've never felt like I'm penalized for it. It's like, fine, I wasted like 3 points, whatever.
How much time did you spend on the character creator?
Probably about a half an hour.
Yeah, sounds all right.
Just cycling through all the options, just seeing what's there. Mostly, like, I will say that the female voice acting is really good.
Yeah, I've heard. I've been watching.
It's really fucking good.
I've been watching a lot of streams while I've been working, and it's usually different people's streams, so I'm like kind of watching the same first 2 hours again. But I saw one with a male, and one with a female. I was like, the female voice actor is better.
Yeah, I would hands down say it. And then there's a subtlety to the voice acting as you continue through, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been really liking that. There are some other. I'm trying to think of other things that have that might bug you about it. I mean, it's very much sci-fi, hands down, full in.
I'm getting better with sci-fi.
Future sci-fi.
I think like starting with Mass Effect, like I'm much more interested in sci-fi than I was. I still prefer fantasy, but um, you know, I don't think that's a deterrent for me now.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff in this. The set piece stuff is pretty neat. That's the thing about when I say the game has rough edges. There's so many incredibly highly polished parts of this game in areas, and then I guess the parts that aren't just stand out against that.
Right. And does it feel like mainly a product of fucking COVID, doing shit from home? Like this would have been a lot more polished.
Maybe there's probably and maybe they just did what's the game development term? The last 10% of the game takes 90% of the time.
Yeah, right.
And it's just how it is. Like, I just think yes, COVID probably impacted the some, which is probably why they have delayed it already so far, but I still think it just needed more time.
I kind of feel like the console, like fucking PS4 base and Xbox One
PS4
base,
is so bad.
Needed the time. Like, this was supposed to come in.
I'm just like, don't release it on those consoles at all at this point if it looks like this.
Yeah, it's kind of hard when you've announced it in 2012 and like targeted April. That was there weren't even next gen then, Like, I've seen the comparison videos and it's just fucking rough.
It's bad.
Yeah.
Like, I feel bad for anyone trying to play this on a base PS4 or an Xbox One.
Which is literally it seems like most of the people who bought the fucking game, I think it's like 50% of pre-orders came from PC and then the rest were console, and most of the console pre-orders are going to be playing on fucking base consoles.
Yeah. Yep.
Oof, man.
It does not run on them well at all.
God,
I mean, it's a beast of a game. It really is.
Yeah.
Again, people are figuring out all the ways to tweak it. You sent me the config file thing that gave me some improvements.
Was that easy to do? Just dropped into the text file?
Yeah, it was. I just had to find the file.
Yeah.
But it's really easy to find that file.
Cool.
Once you know this directory structure. It's like, and then it's a .csv file, but it's not.
It is? Isn't that Excel?
CSV is comma separated values.
Okay, I just use those in Excel.
But Excel opens it, but it can save them, but it doesn't matter. It's just a text file.
Yeah.
So it's much easier to just open in Notepad or whatnot and just change the values and done. It's super. It took me all of a minute to change.
Yeah, that's probably what I'll do. I'm now obviously going to target my PC for this game.
Yeah.
I thought I was going
I
to do
highly
PS5, but no.
recommend PS5. I've seen like Digital Foundry. I watched yesterday some pretty big comparisons across all the consoles,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like, PS5 doesn't look bad at all. It runs at a pretty good frame rate. Visual quality is reasonable. It's not ray trace. Ray tracing will come with the PS5 updated version.
Right.
But it's definitely higher than a PS4 and PS4 Pro version of the game.
Yeah.
So,
but would the PS5 make the textures look better though? Because it looks pretty muddy.
Probably, because they could probably do higher res textures. Because there's more video RAM. Because the texture resolution is all based on video RAM. How many textures can you fit in that memory?
But wouldn't it max out on what the PS4 Pro could do or not?
Hard to say. I mean,
I just mean based on assets, right, that are in the game files or whatever.
Are you talking about PS5 or PS?
I'm talking about I'm talking about PS5, but I'm thinking my understanding of it is that like you've done the art, like the art assets, right? They're at a certain quality. Wouldn't that top out at the PS4 Pro? Like level of rendering?
What they ship on the disc
mm-hmm.
in the data, because it's separate files depending on the resolution that you want.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking if the PS5 can do higher resolution than the PS4 Pro, but they're not doing a PS5 version yet, they wouldn't send anything out that would be special for PS5 at this point, right?
No, although the Digital Foundry said that there was some stuff that clearly they were turning on
Okay.
because they noticed that it was running on a PS5. Like there are differences between PS5 and PS4 Pro.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's good to know.
And I don't think it was texture quality though. You're right. It was not textures, but it was lighting quality and like level of detail, polygon stuff like that.
Yeah, and those things make sense, I think, to me. My stupid brain about game dev stuff that makes sense.
Definitely say that it looks better on PC almost across the board.
Yeah, that's what I've seen, and stability too. And it feels like they're targeting, like their main console seems to be PC for this game.
So I've gotten no crashes playing the game.
Wow. Okay.
So I've had to reload. Did I have to reload? I've reloaded once, but then I realized I didn't actually need to reload. The quest wasn't bugged. I just was not understanding what the quest was asking me to do. And I thought something. I was like, I can't destroy this thing. They told me to destroy this thing, and I'm shooting it. It won't let me destroy it. Let me reload. Okay, it's still not letting me. Oh, there's a computer back there. I should check the computer lets me destroy it. Okay.
So you were bugged, and not the game.
Yeah, the game wasn't clear on that.
Yeah.
But,
do you find the writing? I can't remember the fucking sentence, but it was in like the first 3 minutes. There was some word that was like didn't seem like a word, but it was close to a word. I can't remember what the fuck it was.
Chumba?
Huh?
Chumba?
No, that wasn't it. It was like, okay, so this is not it, but like instead of using the word perspective, it was like perspectoid. Like it's so close, but it's not quite right. It's not what they meant to say. Have you noticed anything like that in terms of like maybe like written in a different language and translated somewhat awkwardly, or does it all feel like it flows well in English?
It sounds like it flows well in English. They do some cool stuff with I would say mixing and doing it's hard to say, on the fly translations.
Mm-hmm.
So subtitles, if people are speaking in other languages, display in the language that they're speaking, and then each letter glitches in to English.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And it will do this with any character set. Like I see Japanese flying around, and then we'll translate into English.
Right.
So it was a really nice touch.
I heard that the skills develop through practice. So the more that you do,
yeah, kind of. Yes, that's what the
cool.
perk tree. That was another weird part of the perk tree.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a perk point every time you level up. Cool, that makes sense. You get skill, you get a skill point and a perk point. Skill points are like your D&D attributes, basically. They call them skills, but they're your body, your reflex, cool, intelligence, and tech are the 5.
Right.
And then under those are are your perk trees, and those are like in intelligence you have reaching and quick hacking. So intelligence is all about hacking things. And those are perk trees that the skill they're tied to affects how strong you are at these things, and then perk points allow you to basically buy things in this tree underneath of it. And another way to get perk points, let's say you're doing hacking things, you get experience towards, let's say I'm doing quick hacking, which is hacking people, like turning their cybernetics off, glitching their weapons, things like that. Every time you do that, you get experience to that tree, and that tree, I believe, has 20 levels itself, and each level of that tree gives you additional bonuses for things in that tree.
Does that kind of map to the tabletop game?
Nope.
Oh.
So the top skills, let's call them attributes because that's what D&D. Those do.
Okay.
Although the tabletop game has 10,
like
not 5.
Cool and whatever else. Yeah.
Yeah, those all directly map to tabletop. The underneath ones, I think, might actually map to skills in the game, but this is not how the tabletop game works at all. I would say it's an homage to the tabletop, but it's its own thing.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. I don't think you'd want to directly take the tabletop in there. Like I'm looking now. Let's see. Let's look at range skills. Yeah, I mean, like some of them, like handgun is a perk tree under reflex, and it's a reflex skill in the tabletop. But that goes back to the thing of, as you use different skills, you will also get perks and increased effectiveness in that tree. So that's another way to get perk points, because I think it's like every couple levels in a skill tree will just give you a perk point. Not that you can use on any tree that you want to use it on. It's just like, hey, you've leveled up in this tree, so here, have perk point. So there's a lot of times when I haven't done leveling up where I have like 3 attribute points to assign and I have like 7 perks to assign.
Seems like it would be easy to get lost in that.
Yes. I spend a lot of time thinking about how I want to spin them and look at all the trees and where I want to be effective. I'm playing a hacking build, so I'm focusing on intelligence, with the rest of my points really kind of split between tech and reflex. So I mostly use hacking, handguns, and the tech is how it gives me a lot of options to like open doors, log into security systems that normally wouldn't be able to. So it gives me different paths through maps, and it allows you for crafting. Tech is all about crafting, so I can craft a bunch of my own weapons and gear.
So it's basically Animal Crossing. Perfect.
Kind of, yeah. And I would say the hacking is really hard early, but it gets super powerful where I'm at right now. Like, I'm just wrecking people, hacking them.
And it's worthwhile to invest in that then, to steamroll people now.
Yeah, I think, and I've heard that's similar in a lot of the trees, that it's a little rough to begin. Like, you definitely feel the power progression as you invest more points into things. And
that kind of makes it feel worth it and feel fun.
Yeah. So it does feel really cool.
You kind of sold me on the game, even in its state that it's in, to try sooner than later, I would say. Because I was going to wait for like months to check it out when it's a little more polished, but it sounds like a game that...
See, I think they're going to be polishing it pretty damn fast, honestly.
I would hope so, because this is...
one patch Friday. On PC, they're up to 1.04 now. And that patch on Friday increased performance more, Like I saw a couple more frames per second after that, and they fixed a bunch of quest bugs and crashes. I'm curious. They said that they're gonna have a bunch of like The Witcher 3 had, what it had 16 free like mini DLCs.
Yeah.
So they said they're gonna match that in Cyberpunk. So I'm curious what those are,
Yeah.
because there are things that they have shown in the past that just aren't in the game anymore.
Mm.
And so I'm curious. Like there's no aligning yourself with factions at all.
Right. I heard that.
Like games exist, but there's no alignment to them. I think maybe I could have aligned to one with a story mission choice that I made, but I made the opposite choice and killed them all. So,
You killed all the. Do they come across to you as like racist, like archetypes, or not racist, but like racial archetypes, like just very paint by numbers?
um, I would say like some more than others.
Okay.
I think that's from the source material. So, like the Arasaka Corporation,
Mm-hmm.
uh, they are a Japanese corporation through and through.
Yeah.
They are. It is very much coded in Japanese. I mean, that's the lore that they're taking from in the role-playing game and everything. They are like the biggest mega corporation. The headquarters is in Tokyo. They're that part of the cyberpunk world. They are all of Japanese descent, very much. Is it as heavy-handed as other things I've seen? No. Is it great? I don't know. There's the Voodoo Boys, which are the Haitian influenced
Mm-hmm.
ones, which weirdly they directly talk about that in game, being like the people there, because they are actually of how's the lore set with them, and they talk about it in game of being like, yeah, there was this group of people that set up and called themselves the Voodoo Boys and like co-opted all this Haitian kind of lore, and then actually Haitian and Dominican Republican people migrated to the city and were like, "What the fuck are you doing? This is ours. We're taking it." Um,
Hmm.
Basically, like, yeah, they call out the people that were not of that descent taking it over, like their culture,
Mm-hmm.
like appropriate cultural appropriation. So it's
Right.
called out in the game.
That's
Um,
that's kind of nice.
be taken back by the actual Haitian, and then them specifically going like, "Yeah, we don't." Something call you say something about like, "Hey, why do you call yourselves the Voodoo Boys then?" And they're like, "We don't. That's what everyone else calls us."
Yeah. So it feels like the writing's kind of doing some good work on the things that like on the surface seem
Yeah, it does, and it still can
off-putting.
be problematic at the visual. Like you're like, okay, will it? Is it perfect? No, but places are, and I'm like, okay, they're at least acknowledging um, some of the pain points here, and acknowledging like, yeah, this can be problematic, and not just being like, ah, it's not an issue. But
I think that's useful for me as someone who's critical of some of those kinds of things in video games and as they try to enjoy media but also be critical of
yeah,
some of those pieces. I heard a critique from a guest that was on the Beastcast this week, and it was just like every black person I run into, he's black. He's like every black person I run into is what you expect, and that sucks. Um, so there is some work to be done. But I'm wondering
yeah.
how like maybe black characters specifically, how did they strike you in the game?
I'm trying to think of I'm trying to think of the major black characters I've actually like straight up met. I've been on the with the Voodoo Boys,
Mm-hmm.
and they're the ones talking about all that stuff.
Do you find
The
that each
main,
like individual member of that gang or whatever seems individual, or they just seem monolithic, like they're all the same kind of thing?
yeah, they're all just part of the gang.
Yeah.
Like that's one thing. Like each gang, Maelstrom, um, Tiger Claw, which is that is definitely the hey, there is what I'm in. The place you start is just outside of. Night City's Japantown once you're in the city. So it has very much of Japan focused characters. And are they all the same? I don't know. Like, the gang members are effectively just reused over and over again. The only characters that have actual depth to them are like main characters, and weirdly you can know that they're main characters or side characters because their models look a hell of a lot better than the normal pedestrian wandering the streets.
Right.
But I could see that. I'm trying to think of, again, I think this is where I can say I just haven't pushed that far out into the game.
Mm-hmm. Right, because you're in the same
really,
district for the most part.
Mostly in the same district. I ventured south to do the Voodoo Boys stuff, which was in Pacifica. But that was... And then I ventured back into the Badlands for another story quest.
Because you're a nomad. You went back to where you came from then.
Kind of. The beginning doesn't matter at all. That was so short. Jesus. That was a complaint.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it on stream too, where you're in the city all of a sudden, and doesn't it fast forward you? Like
you get like a 6-month time skip.
Yeah.
Does a montage. But I mean, your actual choice of life path is really half an hour to an hour of time tops.
And then
everything just converges.
You're funneled
I
in the
will
same
say,
spot.
being a nomad, I have tons of dialogue options throughout the game to do cool things because I'm a nomad. So it's not like your life path doesn't have impact. You are getting to make cool choices because of it. But I feel like they dropped the ball on my character's backstory because I'm a nomad who the nomad life path is like, hey, I'm not with my family anymore, the nomad clan, but I don't know why. I still don't know why.
And are they doing it in a way that's like tantalizing in a way that moves you forward, or you're like, there's something missing that should be here?
So that's the thing. Maybe later on I'll get to the point I'm like, oh, they finally revealed it
to
me. But as of right now, I feel like they're never going to reveal it to me. It's just not going to be in the game.
That's annoying.
I could be wrong. It could be a dialogue between like Johnny and my character as we're talking about, like, because I mean, I guess he has alluded to why I left. I guess spoiler, like, you know his thoughts, he knows your thoughts, kind of thing.
I mean, he's in your
brain,
life, right?
Your memories, you know his memories.
Yeah.
So he's alluded to stuff about my past. So I'm wondering if I continue through the main quest, more will come to light in what V's nomad backstory is, per se.
How's his performance, by the way, Keanu?
I enjoy it quite a bit.
Oh, good. Okay.
He's very charismatic. He's a dick.
I've heard that.
He's a complete and total dick. Until he's not. And then you're like, oh, okay, maybe you're not so bad.
Oh, we're doing that, like the dick, and then you like feel a lot of feels when they're good. Do something good.
Kind of, and like you can just tell. I mean, you need someone to pull this role off, like Keanu Reeves, who can still be a dick and is charismatic about it. And that's just Johnny Silverhand character, big rocker boy, charismatic kind of leader, but also a complete and total prick. So, I could see how it would rub some people the wrong way. I haven't been it's been fine for me. I've mostly been smiling while conversing with him, and then you can also be a dick right back to him. So why not?
Fight fire with fire, I guess.
Yeah, kind of. Or you can actually just try to be kind to him as well, and a lot of times he'll actually back down at that point. Be like, yeah, my bad, sorry, getting too worked up over things. Because he's also not happy in the situation that he's in. So.
Right, of course. Probably.
Neither one of you are happy with the situation.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it sounds like overall pretty enjoyable experience.
I am enjoying it.
Awesome.
Is it a perfect game? No. Best game of the year? No.
Do you find that like Final Fantasy VII Remake is higher in your regard as like game of the year kind of thing? Or is there a different one?
Well, Hades right now would be game of the year for me.
That's true.
Or Persona 5 Royale. On those two are definitely above this one.
Yeah.
Honestly, like my gut feeling, like from personal entertainment value that I'm getting out of it, I would put this around the 7 remake for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is a bit more flawed of a game, but I'm enjoying it about the same. I'm gonna get more time out of this game, that's for sure.
Right. That's pretty
Like
good.
I'm already, yeah.
That's a good
I mean,
bar.
that's
Yeah.
the thing. I think where the scores are landing are correct for it.
Yeah.
And I can see some divisiveness in the range. I think whenever like when you say like when you're doing a 3 out of 5 and it becomes like so that's equivalent to a 6 out of 10. I think a 6 is a little low, honestly. Unless you're playing it on like a PS4, then it's probably like a 2 because it doesn't run.
Well, it's interesting too with that. I don't know about the games beat scale if it's like they do like half percent, half points. Because
Yeah,
if you're deciding between a 4 and a 3 or a 4 and a 3.5, that's a very different decision that you might
it
land
is a
on.
very different decision.
You might,
I'd have a hard time seeing this at like a 5-6 range.
yeah. And once they bring the
For me
patches,
right now, it's somewhere 8 or 9.
mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. We'll see how it finishes out.
Right. Well, once they bring the patches out, like it can't go. I mean, same thing with Witcher 3. Like it launched slightly rough. I think way less rough than this one, but still rough. And then over time, it got just so much better.
Yeah,
But it was still eminently enjoyable from day one. So
yeah. I think CD Projekt Red underestimated how much this game was going to take to make.
mm-hmm.
Because I think I was trying to get the timing. Blood and Wine came out in May 2016.
Yes,
I'm pretty sure the majority of the team working on Cyberpunk didn't move on to Cyberpunk until that shipped.
That's a pretty short time for such a big game then.
So it's like 4 years, which is a long time, but I think a game like this probably needs 5 or 6 years.
What?
Realistically. I mean, it's like how Bethesda makes their, like, how long does it take them to make Elder Scrolls?
Well, I think the comparisons to like a Bethesda launch are kind of apt with how buggy
Yeah.
those are at launch, and they get fixed over time. So.
And that's kind of the nature of this. And I just think CDPR was, I think they had made something huge with The Witcher and like, okay, we can translate that into this. I think there's just a different level of challenge whenever you're like, okay, the world that we're creating is actually just one giant city. It changes the design complications, and it also just changes level design, how that needs to be built, and it changes how technology, like what. There's plenty of places in Witcher 3 where you're just rendering nature, long swaths of rolling hills and nature, which is a very different rendering technique than rendering people and buildings everywhere.
Yeah,
go up to the sky and lights, so many neon lights everywhere.
Right, especially when you like out in nature, the grasses and hills and trees and bushes, whatever. Like you can somewhat randomly just put those out, and it still looks natural and normal. You can't do that with man-made architecture,
No,
you can't repeat the same.
I think it's just
thing.
Yeah, I think that's where so much of their time went, was to make this city, when it left less time to do other things.
Right.
So, and the city looks amazing. Like that's probably my favorite part of the game, is just driving through the city. There's a lot of times, like I'll fast travel now a lot, but like when there's something really far away, I just hop on a motorcycle and I just drive through the entire city going there, because it's just gorgeous to drive through it, and I see things that I haven't seen before. So,
do you think that they do? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I think it's it's a good game. I think it will be made better over the next year.
Do you think it'll ever hit that the pinnacle of like game of the generation that it felt like this was hyped up to be, or do you think it'll just be a very good game?
I don't think it will be ever game of the generation.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the best that's going to come from it is people look back 2 years from now and it's the same way they look at No Man's Sky.
That's That would be awesome because
Which No Man's Sky is not the game of a generation. It's
it's
just
not. Yeah.
2 years looking back at the launch. You're like, oh, this is a great game now.
Yep.
It was always a good game, but it's great now.
Right. It is fucking great.
And I think Cyberpunk has the core to be a great game. It's just got to get there.
Yeah.
And like,
That's
yeah,
that's good.
I think you'll enjoy it. Maybe, I don't know, wait a little bit. See, I kind of want them to announce what their patching schedule is going to be like for the game.
Me too.
Because they haven't really announced any kind of post-launch PR campaigns or anything. Like I want, like, what are the free DLCs looking like? What are they adding? How quickly are bug fix and performance packages coming out?
It would be hard to
I
announce.
think that cadence would be good to know before I would say, yeah, definitely buy this game right now.
Right. It seems like it'd be hard to announce the posts, release DLC schedule and not fix your fucking game first, right? Like the was it like the creative director, one of the big directors on the game, like left or turned off Twitter, right? Yesterday or day before, and was like, I'm out of here for several days. Like you crossed too many lines or whatever.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure he's getting death threats and
Oh
shit.
yeah.
I can't even delve into the Cyberpunk game subreddit. It's just a pit of vitriol and
Oh yeah.
anger right now. I'm just like, at some point, you're just like, okay, guys, just stop kicking a dead horse. Like, get it. The game is buggy and runs like shit on base consoles. Okay, vent your anger, but man, it's just, I'm like, I can't deal with this.
Yeah. For me, it seems like we're probably rolling to what I'm playing now, since we just did what you're playing, basically.
Yeah. This is what I've been playing.
Yeah, it feels like a January game for me, and I hope that the patch schedule kind of like brings it up to par there, for my PC. I just did the benchmark test or whatever, and my rig surpasses their minimum, which is nice to know. But I'm playing Last of Us 2. And I did not, and I've done a really good job this year of not stopping a game, finishing it. The only one that I've started this year and didn't finish was Disco Elysium because Ghost of Tsushima came out and we all started that together and I wanted to stick with you guys. But I put No Man's Sky to the side because I really want to have The Last of Us 2 mainly completed before we do Game of the Year. Because I think I want to have that in my vocabulary for that discussion.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, I mean, No Man's Sky is great. Still really enjoying that. Duping chlorine like crazy. Bought a freighter, which I think was stupid because I think I'm supposed to get a free freighter at some point, but whatever. It's so easy to get millions.
I got a free freighter.
Yeah, so I did.
I mean, that was basically the last thing I did before, I guess, Tuesday night this past week. I duped a bunch of chlorine, got a bunch of money, got an S-class multi-tool.
Nice.
Like found one, bought it. It's great. And then I jumped into a system. A freighter was under attack, killed the pirates, got the freighter.
Yep, that's the thing that I haven't done yet, and I realized after I bought my freighter that I could just do that. And I think I'm really close to that.
Having more, you can have more than one freighter though.
Oh, you can? Oh, fucking great. Okay, I don't feel like I wasted my money.
I'm pretty sure you can. Like it. There's the whole interface makes it seem like you can have a fleet of ships. So.
But I thought the fleet was inside of your freighter, but you could have multiple freighters. That's good to know. Because a fleet is also freighters.
Different capital ships. Because you can have individual fighters that you're flying in your ship, so you can pick what ship you want to fly out of it on.
Right.
But you can have different capital ships, like the freighter, and I think there's like science ships you can get, because you can send them on expeditions to do things while, like, in real time while you're out there.
And I just did that with my freighter.
Yeah. So you can get more of those.
Okay, cool.
I don't know if you can have multiple of the same type of ship, but I guess you'll find out.
Yeah, when I do that pirate quest. So that game's amazing. Like the quality of life, like that game is just really fucking good. Exactly what you said before. Like it was had a good foundation when it started, but there was a lot of problems, and now it's singing. That game is great. And I'm glad they won Best Ongoing Game. And Sean Murray, like
Yeah.
mid beer drink.
Yep. That was great. I was like, there's no way I'm winning this. I'm taking a drink.
Like I thought I
Whatever.
was losing the Fortnite, just like I always do.
Yeah.
But I put that aside a couple days ago to start Last of Us 2, and I've been thinking all day the best way to describe this, and this is just the only way I can think of it, and it's terrible. But um, so you have not had sex for like 2 weeks, and then you have sex, and how that feels after not having sex. Like that's how Last of Us 2 feels. It is already, I'm only like 2 hours into it, superb. Like it is superb on every level so far. Gameplay, animation, uh, visuals, environment, writing, storytelling, character development. Like it is unreal. It is so good. And I think part of it's like the juxtaposition with No Man's Sky, which is like very much like a almost like a systems oriented game with like some story to kind of pull you along, but it's more about like this procedurally generated, you know,
Yeah.
farming, building, sandbox world. But it feels fucking top of class in every aspect. To the point where I set my wife down last night and was like, just watch the first 15 minutes with me. And she was just like, these are what games are like now? Like, what do you do in the game? Like, it's a movie. I was like, yeah, it's like an 11-hour cutscene with like gameplay in the middle, which I thought was cool. There's just tons of cutscenes at the beginning. You've watched it obviously, and then
Yeah.
it's punctuated by like going out as I think it was Ellie or Joel or whoever, or Dina or not Dina, Abby, and you're just like the jump scares and the fucking clickers or whatever the fuck they're called. It's like such a different experience playing it versus what you're getting from the cutscenes, and like two very deep, really like engaging components of the game, like the very emotional story, and then like just the fucking shit, like scary
Yeah.
fucking gameplay. And then like scavenging shit. Like I played Last of Us 1 on easy mode just to get through it. I wanted the story and I didn't really care about the gameplay. Like I started this one on moderate, and it feels right to like scavenge just the right amount and like really conserving your bullets and like thinking through how you're gonna go through it and encounter. So far I'm gonna stick with that, but man, I cannot wait to play it more, and I'm sad to put No Man's Sky on the shelf for a couple weeks, but this game is so
Yeah.
far but unbelievable. And I was playing it kind of with the critical eye of like, once it won Game of the Year, like just the internet fucking exploded. Like the critics are so dumb and wrong, and it's the wrong game. And all this kind of like feels like right wing, the right wing gamer gators have like become what they hate in terms of like the SJW that they rail against, but they really are railing against something in this game that I don't know. Um,
No, it's not railing. It's railing. It's a perceived notion that the way that the turns that this story takes are wrong. Basically, this is not the game that they wanted. But
and is
when it
it
comes down to it, they're not the one making the game. The game is being made by the team making it, and that this is the story they wanted to tell, and what they feel is the continuation of these characters' stories.
Yeah, and I
So,
kind of want to dig into spoilers here a little bit. So if you haven't played Last of
yeah,
Us 2, fast forward a little bit. But like, is it simply that Abby killed Joel? Is that it, or is there
yeah,
more?
mostly.
Jesus, really?
I mean, that's like the biggest point. I don't want it.
I'm sure there's other things too,
I don't.
but like,
There's other.
I mean, the transgender thing.
No, I didn't really see much. Like, sure, I'm sure that comes up,
Uh
of course, but that's not where I've seen the most vitriol of anything.
okay,
Like the general vitriol is the Abby and Joel stuff.
huh? That just
Like
makes so much
in a
sense to
lot of
me.
ways, like people wanting, they're like, I the game I wanted was more Ellie and Joel, but that's not this game, not at all.
Huh? Okay, so it's just
So,
like such
and
deep
I
ownership of the
think some people
character.
just get frustrated by that. They're
Mm-hmm.
like, but I wanted more of that relationship, and I'm like, well, that's too bad. You have the first game for that. There is not
Right.
that. This is its own thing.
I feel like
But
other media kind of like other products and other media get applauded for like taking out the main character and like having bravery to do that.
yeah, I mean, falls in similar line with the Return of the Jedi, not Return of the Jedi, Episode 8, Star Wars.
Right, that's true.
The Last Jedi, where like there was a huge pissing fit that they killed Luke.
Right.
Like how this is bullshit and everything. Like, I buy that. There's a certain amount of ownership that people want of these stories, and they want to be comforted by them. And sometimes that where the creators want to go is not for comfort. They have a story they want to tell. And it's okay. And I'm like, most people, when they get worked up about it, I'll just say, just chill out. Like, I don't like Episode 9 in Star Wars, and I pretty much have stricken it from my mind as canon. Like, I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
I don't get angry about it. I don't rant about it online. I'm just like, nope, don't need that doesn't need to exist. It's funny that they stopped making Star Wars movies after Episode 8. Weird. Wouldn't have thought.
Usually it's a trilogy. I guess not. It's a duology.
It's a bold decision.
But kind of following Last of Us 2. Sorry, go ahead. Huh?
But it's okay to just, if you don't like something, not get so worked up about it.
Yeah, but when it becomes so tied to your identity, right?
Yeah.
It just feels like you feel like I see that like really with the Cyberpunk backlash, where it's like I put down my $60 for this game 6 years ago or whatever, and like I'm like emotionally tied to the idea that I didn't waste my money. And I'm just such like a super fan that I can't see somebody review this in a way that conflicts with my perceived notion of what the game should be, even though I haven't played it yet. Like the backlash against some of the reviewers, just part of it's like misogyny, but like a lot of it's like shoring up your personal choices so that you don't feel like you made the wrong decision.
Yeah.
So
and I feel bad for people in that way.
Yeah,
I think
me too.
The Last of Us 2 was similar to some people. They had been waiting for that game. They had built up what the continuation was in their mind.
Right.
And
more of the buddy road trip, killing zombie thing.
And what is it? In some ways, it's a grief when it's not that. They're dealing with like having to, how do I reconcile with that? What I want and what I got.
Well, I think that really nails it. Like it is grief, because for me, after playing The Witcher 3, I was just pining for that experience again. So if Witcher 4 is coming out in the first hour, Geralt's killed, and I don't get to have the new adventure with him to kind of recreate the first adventure, that would be crushing in a way. If I pin my entire identity or life on that, which I haven't, despite the contrary evidence across these podcasts, how much I fucking love that game. Yeah.
So yeah, I think The Last of Us 2 more than deserved to win Game of the Year in general on like the Game Awards and stuff. It is a phenomenal game. For a person that hasn't played it, just watch the entire thing. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's production, everything you said about like production levels and quality is off the charts. It's like unmatched by pretty much anything else.
Yeah.
And I can also say, as a person that's watched the thing, I never want to play it. That doesn't mean I think it's a bad game at all. It's not a game for me. Even on a base level of what it's about, I'm just like, nope, can't play this. Do not want to experience this interactive.
Yeah, I felt that way earlier in the summer, but for some reason I'm like, at least currently, here for it, and I'll see where it goes from here. But
it doesn't even matter. It's because of this year. I just do not want to play those games.
Yeah.
They are. I mean, to be honest, they're brutal games.
Oh yeah, this is super brutal.
And I cannot deal with that level of brutality.
Yeah.
Like even watching it, I had to like mute volume or minimize the screen a couple times because of just like, oh holy shit, like I'm having a really hard time watching this.
Right.
And I can only imagine what's going to be like if you're playing it.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna get more brutal for sure. For so far, it's very it's just so rich. I just can't wait to play it again.
Yeah.
I did put up a YouTube video yesterday. Title is The Last of Us 2 won Game of the Year. Why all the hate? And I've gotten quite a bit of engagement from that title alone.
Really?
more than many recent videos. So that's pretty fun. um,
Fun in quotes.
no, actually, pretty fun. Some of the comments were good. Um, it's nice to. I'm trying to follow my game. I'm trying to do a stream where I'm playing it, and then the next day, kind of like do like a 10-minute think of like what's happening in this that would set people off. Like, I don't know, just
Yeah.
like my thoughts in real time. Like what's the big deal? Why all the hate? Um, so I mean, obviously, I remember being in bed watching. I was just gonna watch the story, and then I got to the part where Abby killed Joel, and I was like, I closed my iPad and just like laid there. I was like, holy fuck. I was like, I can't watch
Yeah.
the rest of this. I have to play it. Um, so
Yeah.
crazy. Anyway, I've been playing Last of Us 2.
Got yet. I don't think. That's a few hours in.
Yeah, it's only
Right.
in terms of cutscene, it was like 2 hours in. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, gameplay, I'm sure adds to it, obviously. So,
Ugh, brutal.
yeah.
Ugh, that part especially. Oh my god.
Oh man, I know that
Ugh.
was super brutal, dude. Oh my god. Anything else for the podcast tonight?
No, not tonight. You can go play Last of Us, and I'm gonna go probably run around Night City.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm gonna do some minutes revision and agenda writing for my meeting tomorrow, and then I get to play.
Oh,
But this has been episode 271 of Prof and Dev Play Games. If you like our podcast, please tell a friend or two. Rate us on your podcast service of choice. Check us out on, I guess, check me out, whatever. It's called Prof and Dev Play Games, but I'm the one posting all the videos on YouTube. Check it out.
that's true.
And we will see you next week when we'll have more to say about Last of Us 2 and Cyberpunk. Maybe I'll have a chance to
Later.
dip in on Cyberpunk and maybe
Yeah.
not. Who knows? Anyway, see
Who
you, folks.
knows? Later.